Good evening and welcome to the latest edition of the Sportsballers podcast. My name is Eric. I've got hosting duties today. I'm joined as always by Evan and Corey, and we have a special guest with us today. Faryn Ash, Evan's younger sister, has joined us for today's episode. Thank you for coming on. Are you excited?
Yes, happy to be here.
Yeah, we're glad to have you. We got a lot to get through today. The NBA season is kicking off next week, starting on Tuesday. We've got some college football rankings to get through, a little bit of baseball news, and of course the NFL that we always spend the majority of our time on. So, since it's my week, as usual, we'll start with the NBA. We got some interesting news from Mr. Wojnarowski, as usual. Giannis Antetokounmpo has signed his supermax with the Milwaukee Bucks. As anybody that's followed the NBA and followed this podcast knows that I've used that as a landmark to determine what's going to happen with Milwaukee's future, whether or not Giannis decides to sign that deal or not, and that everything else prior to that was just pure speculation and consternation about what's going to happen there. But he has done it. He has committed to the Bucks for the long term. He'll be there presumably for the next 5 years, being paid max money. So congratulations to him, and congratulations to the Milwaukee Bucks for retaining their superstar. It's unusual to see in today's climate in the NBA when you're in a small market and you haven't won a championship for a team to be able to retain such a dynamic player like Giannis. So I think it's good for the league, and obviously it's great for that organization and for that player to have that financial stability now, and plus that stability with him being there long term, hopefully as a contender for the Bucks in the East for the next few years. So we've also got some other interesting happenings. James Harden decided to show up to camp, and he's fat. There's no other way to put it. He got a little chonky in the seemingly 5 minutes since the NBA season ended in the bubble, but I guess he wasn't there that long. The Rockets were eliminated in the second round of the bubble playoffs, but nevertheless, he's put on a surprising amount of weight in the time between the end of his run last year and showing up to camp now. So
you might think that would be counterproductive to his desire to be traded. I feel like that would kind of lower his trade value.
I don't think so. People know what James Harden is. He's going to play his way into shape, and he's going to be fine. I don't think anybody's going to have any issues with what James Harden can produce in late December versus what they expect to see from him in May, when any team that's interested in trading him is hoping to be playing into. So I don't think it affects his market. It certainly is not a good look, especially given all the other things that he's been doing, hitting up every strip club imaginable and every party, and seemingly not taking COVID protocols seriously. But we are where we are. He showed up to camp. He seemingly still wants to trade out of Houston, despite the fact that Russell Westbrook got shipped out of town and was replaced by John Wall. That doesn't seem to have enticed James Harden to stay in Houston, but we will see what happens with him. He is still, as of right now, under contract with the Rockets for the next 3 years, and they don't have any urgency to move him because they've got him under control for that long. So we'll see who makes an offer, if anybody. But for now, seems like on opening night, he's going to be a Rocket.
I think this is really relatable, too, because, some of us, me included, me first, I guess, have put on a quarantine 15. So, James Harden, he's not exempt from the world we live in, I guess.
Apparently not. It's an interesting conundrum. We talked about this back in March, where half the population is either going to get in shape, and the other half is just going to let it go. He seems to have leaned into the let it go part of it, but I don't know if this is calculated or if he just got lazy or whatever. But like I said, he's never been exactly a thin player in the first place. He's played at a pretty heavy weight before. I'm sure he'll be fine. He's still going to average 30 a game and play no defense. So that's going to be the story for Mr. Harden. As I mentioned, though, the actual NBA season, and not just the offseason shenanigans that we love so much, actually starts on Tuesday next week. We got 2 games to start the season. The Warriors are traveling to Brooklyn to play the Brooklyn Nets at the Barclays Center at 7 o'clock p.m. Eastern Time. And then the late night game is the Lakers and the Clippers squaring off at the Staples Center which two good matchups to start the year. Obviously, you got a full slate on Christmas, which if you're a heathen, you'll probably watch. If you're not, you won't. So I'm kind of a little bit of both there. So I'm willing to turn into it a little bit. Although I was also surprised to find out that Maryland basketball plays on Christmas. I've never seen college basketball on Christmas Day. That's new. So I don't know if that's due to scheduling issues due to COVID and constantly having to reshuffle things, but I found that unusual and surprising. So real quick, I'll just get through some of my predictions. If people want to add theirs, they can, or if they just don't care or aren't interested in the NBA, then I'll just talk to myself for the next 5 minutes. That's fine. So
I'm taking Giannis for my MVP.
Okay, so Corey's got Giannis. I've got Luka Doncic winning the MVP this year. I think that he had a breakout year last year after a tremendous rookie season, and I think the Mavericks are going to move up the standings in the Western Conference, and I think he's going to continue to dominate. And I find it hard to imagine Giannis winning a third straight MVP. It just doesn't seem like that's in the cards for NBA players. There's a little bit of fatigue with the voters to want to give somebody new that award, especially with such a budding star like Luka Doncic. So I'm going to roll with him. Anybody else?
I don't have a MVP pick necessarily right now. I need to see some people. Maybe folks will slim down. Maybe some folks will beef up. We'll see what happens. Maybe some folks get traded. Maybe they don't. I just feel like it's just a little bit unfair at this point. The Lakers have every good player that you would want that doesn't have an attitude of some kind. So I just feel like the Lakers, they got it. Because Harden's got a little bit of diva, I feel like, in that he would show up fat.
He's got a lot more than that.
Let me not say that. That he would show up chunky, big boned, and then still kind of be half and half in it. And you want to get I just, I don't know who wants you at that point. Like, where do you fit in? So I'll just say right now, I don't think Harden will be the MVP. It's probably open to anybody else. But really, I just think, the Lakers are stacked. It's kind of unfair for anybody else. I'm going to just go ahead and say they probably do a repeat for this year.
Yeah, I can't argue the point there. I talked about this a few weeks ago that the Lakers were the best team last year. They won the title, and they seemingly only got better, whereas the potential contenders either stagnated or got worse. So, spoiler alert, I'm picking the Lakers to win the title too. So we got some other awards that potentially I wanted to talk about, even though we have no idea what the hell is going to happen because it's December and the season hasn't started yet. But I'm picking Stan Van Gundy to win Coach of the Year. Stan Van just took the job with the New Orleans Pelicans. I almost called them the Hornets. That would have been bad. But they've improved their roster a little bit. They've got Zion coming off of a rookie season that was up and down due to injuries and some weight issues that he had. He, unlike James Harden, looks very fit. So hopefully that will mean he'll be a little bit more able to endure the length of an NBA game. There were times when he was on the floor last year that he was huffing and puffing a little bit, despite the fact that he was very dynamic when he was out there. I think that if he's able to play a full 35 minutes a game and not lose a step, then I think the Pelicans are going to take a big step forward. And if they end up making the playoffs, even if it's only as an 8 seed, it just feels like it's Stan Van's award to lose at that point. So we've got some Rookie of the Year candidates. We just had the draft a couple weeks ago. I'm going to probably piss off some people on this podcast when I say that I think the Rookie of the Year is going to be LaMelo Ball. So that's a fun twist. Yeah, I'm going with LaMelo. I think that there's a little bit of been a poisoning of the well with him, particularly because of the antics with his dad. And not just that, though. He's not blameless. LaMelo isn't either. He was out there in high school jacking up 50-footers on YouTube and not passing the ball and cherry picking and all kinds of stuff like that. So he kind of earned a little bit of his reputation, but at the same time, he was a kid. He's 15 years old. You can't really judge a 15-year-old on that based off of what you might expect a 19-year-old to do in the NBA. And he's a lot bigger than people realize. He's like 6'8" playing point guard. So he's definitely got the size and seemingly the skills to play in the NBA. It's just a matter of how mature is he and how much, well, we talked about the dad quite a bit. And how much does that influence LaMelo's path forward? And all I know is that I really want to see LeVar Ball get into it with Michael Jordan a little bit, just purely for the drama. That's the best case scenario for the Charlotte Hornets this year, because they're not going to be any good again.
I feel like the less LeVar Ball is on my television, the better.
Well, that probably won't be the case for much longer, because and anybody who listens to this podcast knows that I don't follow the NBA that closely, but the little bit that I have gleaned seems to indicate that LaMelo might be the best of his siblings. So, he's probably going to be a contributor on, in the NBA this year, and that's only going to mean more of our ball on our television screens going forward.
Just change the channel.
All right, so I already spoiled it by saying that I think the Lakers are going to win the title, but I guess I'll talk about who's going to win the East. Last
Wizards,
year, the
right?
East was surprisingly competitive, but
The Wizards.
Yeah, obviously the Wizards.
They got Russ.
Clearly.
Let Russ cook.
All right, yeah, the Washington Wizards are going to win the Eastern Conference, and that's going to be amazing. So let's
You
go.
heard it here first,
Yeah,
all of our
right
listeners out there.
Yeah, this is the first time that we probably have more co-hosts than listeners. We've got 4 people here instead of 3.
That's true. Yeah.
You're outnumbered here, you haters out there, for not supporting the Wiz. But honestly, I think it's I know the Miami Heat won the East last year, and I think they'll definitely be a contender. But I think I'm going to go with the Milwaukee Bucks, despite my better judgment. The Bucks last couple of years have had the best regular season record and have struggled to win in the postseason. But I think the addition of Drew Holiday will help augment Giannis's best skills in the playoffs. I think that there was a little bit of pressure on him to be the lead guy for their offense. And while he's a tremendous player, I don't think that's where he's best suited, because he can't shoot to a great degree. And he's 6'11", trying to ball handle like a point guard too often, and that leads to potential injuries because he plays a little bit recklessly with the ball. It's kind of his nature. He's a very physical player, and we saw him turn his ankle in the playoffs. We've seen him have reckless turnovers in those situations. So I think that having a little bit of that pressure taken off of him and giving him a chance to run pick and roll with Drew Holiday and play a little bit more off the ball, I think that will help him and will help Milwaukee build an offense that is a little bit more playoff friendly, given the fact that teams can scheme around Giannis's best abilities. Now they have to worry about a few other people, and Giannis can lean into something where he might not necessarily be the focus the entire time. So I really like their chances. I think that this is the year they finally get over the hump, but they're going to lose to the Lakers. So one step at a time.
Yeah, I mean, everybody's about to lose to the Lakers. I want to say, positive things about the Celtics. I feel like they're close. They've got some quality young guys out there who have been, in playoff situations. I feel like they're one step away, from being the team that would face the Lakers. But I'm also I got to think about Kevin Durant and Kyrie. I don't know what their chemistry is about to be like. Kyrie seems a little difficult to play with. And I don't understand. I don't understand why. He's got a lot going on. Thankfully, he's gotten on board with the fact that the Earth is not flat.
For now.
Yeah, another one of those things. We'll see how long it lasts. But yeah, I'm very interested to see how that chemistry gets built. If people can stay healthy, if folks don't get injured, because if they stay healthy, I feel like they also have a really good chance of winning the East. So we'll see. If folks stay healthy, I'd say the Nets.
Yeah, I'm excited to see what the Nets do. They've got a lot of talent. Obviously Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving are among the best players in the league. They also feel a little combustible given some of the nature of both of those guys, but especially Kyrie Irving. Like, we know that Kevin Durant can be a little bit prickly at times, but it's really Kyrie that we're most worried about there. But yeah, but my bigger concern with them is just that first year back for Kevin Durant coming off that injury. It might take him a full year to get his legs under him before he's ready to really be potentially the best player in the league like he was before he got hurt. So I'm interested to see how that goes. I wish him the best. Obviously, you don't like to see players not come back 100%. He's such a good player and such a big part of what makes the league fun to watch. But I gotta take pause with them just for that. And, maybe Kyrie blows it up by mid-March and we're not talking about the Nets anymore. It's all on the table.
Yeah, a Celtics Lakers finals would be a pretty cool throwback with new faces. But who did the Celtics bring in this year? Because I know that they lost Gordon Hayward. And Hayward, when he was healthy last year, seemed pretty good.
Yeah, I wouldn't really call Gordon Hayward a huge loss. I don't think that derails their chances.
It certainly isn't now that he's broken his finger, so he's not even available to the Hornets.
Yeah,
he broke his finger? When did this happen?
Yeah, that happened today. They had some fancy name for the type of fracture that I don't remember. But, he's out for probably an extended period of time while that heals up. But the problem with the Celtics is that it feels like they've been one piece away for like 5 years now. It seems like they've had Jason Tatum. Now they've got Kemba Walker, who's really good. Kemba Walker's a good player, but they don't quite have that that star that takes him over the top. Jason Tatum could develop into that. He's kind of taken steps to do so.
He looked good in the bubble last year.
Yeah, he had a great couple months that we talked about last year too, where he was averaging 30 a game and playing good defense. But I don't know if that's enough. And I don't know if they still have Jaylen Brown too, who's really good. They lost Brad Wanamaker, who went to Golden State. He's their backup point guard. I don't know if that's a crucial loss or not, but it feels like the Celtics are the team that has all the depth and has a really good coach and has all these really good young players, and they're still missing that piece because for some reason Danny Ainge he holds back. He doesn't quite go for it with that big move to bring in that big name like an Anthony Davis, like a Jimmy Butler, or like some other people that are available on the market. Obviously, I'm not suggesting they go get James Harden. I think that would be a mess for them. But it's just they're one piece short again, and there's only so long that you can say, "Wait, we're young and exciting," because eventually those players are not going to be young anymore. So you got to make a move eventually, and I just don't think they have done it yet. Maybe they're just playing the long game, like the 6-year long game, and waiting for that opportunity to spring their trap and to become the best team in the East decisively. But as of right now, they're not there.
How are the Raptors looking for this year? Are they going to be in the mix?
I think so. I mean, they're obviously still really good. They've got a really good coach. Nick Nurse has proven himself as one of the elite. But I don't know. Again, they're a similar team where I don't know if they have the horses. They've lost Marc Gasol, which is a big loss, him going to the Lakers. He was a big part of what made their championship run so successful back in 2019. And they re-signed Fred VanVleet, which is a big deal. And Pascal Siakam has proven himself to be a very good player, but he's not quite that superstar they need either.
Darn Lakers. The rich get richer.
Yeah, that's the way it goes. They had 6 years of being terrible, and now it's revenge time. So that's all we've got for the NBA. We'll move on to some baseball news. Nothing imminent with any players moving or any parts like that, but we do have some news with regards to the Cleveland franchise. They have decided that they're going to change their mascot's name after the 2021 season, so they will remain the Cleveland Indians for the upcoming season. So I know we've got baseball people that are interested in this story. So somebody take the floor. Tell me what you think.
I mean, they've been the Indians since 1915. So it's really 105 years too late for this name change. But I guess better late than never.
This is even longer standing than the Washington football team.
Yeah, the Washington football team didn't even exist when Cleveland started calling themselves the Indians. So, I mean, I just think it's in poor taste at this point to have a race of people as your nickname. Like, just really, you could pick literally anything else. So, I think they should go with Cleveland Spiders and have, you know.
I think we're all on board with the Spiders being the new name. The one of the things that really interested me about this is, the secondary announcement that they're not going to get rid of the name immediately. They're going to wait until after the 2021 season, and it I don't know whether it's the right or wrong decision. I understand that you don't want to change the name to something else right away without thinking about it, talking to your fans, reaching out to the community, getting feedback on potential names that you would change to. But with the precedent set by Washington in the NFL to just go nameless for a year and be the football team, because even without a replacement in line, you felt that it was time to get rid of it. It's interesting to make this announcement and then decide, but it's not racist enough for us to just get rid of it immediately. It's okay for us to roll with it and have broadcasters call us this for another season. That part seemed a little bit weird to me.
Yeah, that is weird. I don't know why you don't just change it.
Be the if you're really you're not sure about the Spiders yet, or you want to have some time to think about it, just be the Cleveland baseball team. There are plenty of Washington fans who have embraced just being the football team. I know that it's still very split as to, people's reactions to the reports that Washington might stay the football team long term. But personally, I like being the team. If that was to be the case, I'd be okay with it. I don't love it, but I also don't hate it. And I certainly don't hate it for 1 year. You can be the Cleveland baseball team for a year.
Yeah, I don't understand why it's so hard to change the name, especially a racist name. Like, Cleveland, I feel like, had the most obnoxiously racist mascot. There are others that are definitely close, but this like caricature of a person was unacceptable. So, amen that they're having conversations and finally decided, like, great, okay, we've had enough of the racism, at least enough to change it in a year. I don't understand why you wouldn't just change it now. Yeah, be nameless or just pick something. People are going to be upset either way. So if you're the Spiders, you're nameless, whatever, change it. But yes, it's definitely frustrating that it's not racist enough for you to do something right now. But just to name, like, hey, we see that it is, we'll get to it. Okay. Thank you.
Could just be the Cleveland Clevelanders or something. Right? We already have the Philadelphia Phillies.
The Cleveland Ohioans or something. Be like Texans,
Right. There's so many animals to choose from.
The Cleveland Rock and Rollers.
My feeling on this was back when the team decided to drop their name was that, I would have understood if they had said, we're going to do this in the coming year, and in the meantime, we'll figure it out.
Oh yeah, but now a precedent has sort of been set.
Okay, but as somebody that personally hates calling them the football team, I can't stand it. I think it's awful. I certainly appreciate it more than what it was before. There's no doubt. But I understand that it's so clunky, and emulating Dan Snyder is not very becoming. But of course, being the Cleveland Indians isn't very becoming either. And I honestly think that the difference between the team and what the Indians are doing is Washington had a logo in place that had to go, right? The Indians have been using the Block C as their logo for years because of how offensive Chief Wahoo is. So it's not like they really needed to make big changes to make their logo work. You could have named yourself the Spiders or whatever and just rock the Block C for a year and then come up with a new logo potentially after that. So it's not like there's some big transition where they had to get rid of the imagery that they were using. They had already transitioned away from the racist logo that they had been using. So they really could have just pulled the trigger on this and then figured out the logo part later.
I just hope they talk to the people at Disney and Sony and Marvel and all of them in that big mess and work out some sort of Spider-Man looking outfit.
Well, they've got the colors, so
They have the colors.
True.
That's true.
So I think we all agree, though, this is a long time coming. I don't understand the logic when people say stuff like, "How many people are actually offended by this?" I'm like, who cares? It's wrong, and that's all that matters. Is if your company or your franchise is willing to debase itself by participating in juvenile racism, then that tells me something about your character, and that tells me that your character is poor. If that's how you want to portray yourself, then I'm going to think of you as a clown. And the fact that they're realizing that this is stupid and should change is a good thing, regardless of whether or not we agree that how long it should take. I mean, it should have already happened. It should never have happened in the first place, of course. But the transition process is a little messy, as always, in these situations, and you're going to have people whining about it, just like you have people whining about it for Washington right now. But honestly, who cares? That's grow up. It's time to move on. Be an adult. Accept the fact that what you knew as a kid was wrong the whole time, and just embrace the fact that we're moving forward. It's not a crisis.
Yeah, I think the Braves are next.
Oh yeah,
they're certainly going to be dragged kicking and screaming because they're digging in like, no, we're not changing this. So
the chop's got to go too.
Oh,
like,
my goodness.
that should never. That's got to go.
Yeah,
Tomorrow that should go.
I mean, I think it was gone as of the 2019 postseason. But we'll see when they have fans at the stadium again. What happens? It's a mess.
All right, so we'll move on to some college football news. I think this is the last rankings before this week's Championship Sunday, right, Evan? Or
Championship Saturday.
I'm sorry. So this is the last look at the rankings we have to kind of get an idea of what the committee's thinking before we head into conference championships this weekend. So I've listed the top 10 on our list. We've got Alabama at number 1, no surprise there. Notre Dame at number 2, again, no shock there. Clemson at 3, Ohio State at 4, Texas A&M at 5, Corey's Iowa State Cyclones at number 6.
Yes.
Florida Gators at number 7. Evan's favorite team, the University of Georgia Dogs, at number 8, and Cincinnati Bearcats at 9, and the Oklahoma Sooners at number 10. I certainly think they got the top 4 right. I know people are going to whine about Ohio State being in there, despite the fact that they've only played 5 games. But it's not their fault that they've only played 5 games. It's the reality of living with COVID, and I think that
they were not the ones who were causing those games to be canceled. It was their opponents who were doing that.
Yeah, and even so, like, this is a pandemic. It's unavoidable in most realistic situations anyway. So, but obviously, if they lose to Northwestern, which I don't think is very likely, they're out. So we'll see what happens there. To me, it comes down to this for college football is you have to make a subjective selection of who you think are the best 4 teams in the country. And if you think that Ohio State hasn't earned it because they've only played 5 games, I don't buy that. I think that it's more reasonable to say I don't trust their defense or something like that that's objectively wrong with their team. But you would have to point to me a game that they didn't have on their schedule that was canceled that you thought that they would have lost, because frankly I don't see it. And if they were 8-0 or 9-0 or whatever going into this, then they obviously would have been included. So I just don't see 3 games on there that Ohio State realistically loses with the state of the Big Ten. So I'm fine with them being in the mix.
We have an Ohio State graduate on our podcast this week, so I would love to hear what she thinks about the controversy with Ohio State only playing 5 games but being ranked number 4.
Yes, well, definitely proud OSU fan, alum in the house. People, first of all, are always going to hate on us, okay? It's just, I think, the territory, it's the reality of being close to or at the top. I understand. I don't like Alabama. Alabama hasn't done anything to me personally. I'm tired of seeing them at the top. So part of me understands. The other part of me, yeah, I'm sorry. We've only played 5 games. We're in a pandemic. I don't know what to tell you. We couldn't have played more games. One of them was only our fault. The other two, that's got to be on somebody else. Michigan, it's a little questionable what happened to them, especially that last week, because I'm sure we would have won that game as well. But look, we came in with a pretty good ranking, like into the general like college football season, and that has definitely blessed us and lifted us up and kept us in the place that we're in. Um, I imagine we will beat Northwestern. I imagine we will be, yes, Big Ten champs. Um, and so like we gotta be in it because the Big Ten is out here changing things on our behalf, which I appreciate deeply. Because again, 2 of those 3 games that we didn't play were not our fault. Um, but yeah, my only concern is our defense. It's a little questionable. I understand, but what we don't have in defense, we make up for in offense. Justin Fields is great. He's in the Heisman race. Like, we'll see what happens there. We've got quality coaching, got a lot of great wide receivers. Okay, folks who have come back from last year and previous years. So I think we do belong at 4. I'm saying that with a lot of bias, but I do think we belong at 4. Urban might have a fit if we don't stay at 4 too. But I think we're in it. I think we would be in any game that we played, especially if we ended up playing Clemson again. I know I'm still sick about it, so I can only imagine that all those team last year are still sick about it. And I know we would come out and fight in that game if we ended up playing Clemson in whatever scenario. But yeah, I think overall they got it right. The rankings, at least top 4. After that, it's too much love for the SEC. It always has been. Apparently, it always will be. Florida's got to go. Folks like Cincinnati need to be moved up. But yeah, overall, pleased. I think we'll probably make it into the playoffs. Of course, assuming we win this Saturday.
I'm assuming that.
There's some interesting games though, this weekend that could have some really huge ramifications on where teams end up in the final rankings going into the college football playoff. I mean, let's just say that somehow Florida beats Alabama. Does Alabama get pushed out of the top 4 and out of the playoff?
I missed what
At that
you
point,
said.
at that point, Florida has to go into the playoff if they beat Bama.
No, they don't.
No, they do not, and they won't.
If you
Florida
beat the number
lost
1
to-
team, really? As the number 7 team?
They've lost 2 games. No, sorry.
Yeah. Yeah, I think Alabama's in regardless.
So then why are they at number 7? I'm guessing that's kind of Farron's point.
I mean, the only numbers that matter are the top 4. I mean, 5 and below, it's whatever. You're not in the 4. So.
Well, okay. So what
I think
about
it is a
this?
little generous
Clemson
to-
plays Notre Dame this week. Only one of them can win. Does the loser get to
Right.
play in the college football playoff anyway?
I think if Clemson loses, they're done because they've
Yes.
lost to Notre Dame twice. But if Clemson wins, I think Clemson and Notre Dame still both go.
I agree. And the thing is, Corey, Florida would look better if they beat Alabama, but would they look better than Texas A&M, whose only losses to Alabama and who beat Florida? I don't think so.
Yeah,
Okay,
I
well,
think
so then
next team,
let's say Florida beats Bama. Florida doesn't go into the top 4. Does Bama get knocked out of the top 4?
No,
I'd be surprised if they did.
no, they've been just crushing everybody they've played this season.
And
Good teams and the bad teams.
And the last hypothetical I'll ask, if Clemson loses to Notre Dame and they get knocked out of the college football playoff, who goes in? Is it Texas A&M or is it Iowa State if they beat number 10 Oklahoma?
I would say Texas A&M.
Yeah, they were going to put Texas A&M in there.
I don't know who Iowa State lost to look at that. But,
yeah, I don't remember either.
They're your team, Corey. You're supposed to be a Cyclones fan. You picked them to make the playoff last year, which was hilarious. But
I think that was 2 years ago.
I thought it was last year.
I think it was probably both.
It might have been both. He might have just and he probably picked Iowa to win the Big Ten too. But
no, I'm not quite that crazy.
no, not quite that crazy.
Aren't
yeah,
they're in the same division as Ohio State, aren't they?
No, they play in the West.
Okay. So maybe I would pick them to win their division.
Yeah,
I'm not picking them to beat the Buckeyes. Are you kidding me?
With, yeah.
I'm not that much of a homer.
Iowa State has 2 losses. They lost to the Louisiana Ragin' Cajuns in the first game, and they lost to Oklahoma State.
That's right.
I forgot that they lost to the Ragin' Cajuns.
Yeah, they can't go.
So they shouldn't even probably be 6th.
Yeah, so they're done.
Yeah.
So it looks like it would be Texas A&M. This is the only other team that has a chance.
Yeah, A&M seems like the team that's sitting there waiting for an upset. The committee seems to hate Cincinnati. A lot of people are complaining about the fact that they've fallen all the way down to 9, despite the fact that they haven't lost a game. But again, this is college football. The rules are made up. The points don't matter. It's just, it's a mess. And especially in a pandemic year, this is inevitable. But back to Ohio State, I just wanted to say that, I'm a Maryland guy, so I hate Ohio State, and I'm still standing for them to get into the playoffs. So, I'm being objective here and being fair to them because, again, the biggest reason that we're in this situation where they've only played 5 games isn't because of Ohio State or because of any individual schools, because the Big Ten decided to cancel the season and then not. So the Big Ten ultimately made the choice to say, hey, you can't compete for the Big Ten title if you haven't played X amount of games. And then they changed their mind when they realized that the best team wasn't going to be able to participate. So, like I said, rules are made up. Nobody actually cares about this. It's a matter of getting the best 4 in. And I think that as of right now, it's right. We'll see what happens on Saturday. I imagine the only game that's really interesting to see what happens is Notre Dame and Clemson. I think that Bama's going to smoke Florida, and I think that Ohio State's going to handle Northwestern. So it's that 2-3 matchup. This is very intriguing because Notre Dame got the win the first time, but Trevor Lawrence didn't play, and it still went to overtime. So it was a really competitive game, even though probably the best player in the country wasn't participating in the game. So,
yeah. Can you just help me understand real quick why being a Maryland guy automatically makes you an Ohio State hater?
Because you guys crush us all the time.
Okay.
Not just in terms of, games, but you take the recruits too.
I think she knew that, Eric. I think she just wanted you to have to say that out loud.
I didn't actually know. It is helpful to hear the explanation. A lot of people, again, drink of the hate Kool-Aid, and I understand. Again, I don't like Alabama. I certainly don't like Clemson because they've whooped us every time. I just needed you to make that connection for me. Thank you.
It's nothing personal. It's just a matter of, self-interest says I shouldn't like Ohio State because they keep making me feel bad about my football team.
That's why we don't like Penn State too.
All right, so we mentioned some of these games that are going off. I'm not sure if anybody mentioned the Pac-12 championship that nobody cares about.
Most people don't mention the Pac-12 championship.
Oregon is playing at USC. I think didn't Oregon get subbed in for Washington because Washington had COVID problems? So I mean, this is a phony game as it is in a phony conference. Who cares?
On a Friday, they can't even get Pac-12 after dark. In the middle of the night. They just have it Friday afternoon Pacific time.
That's a sad state of affairs. As we mentioned, Northwestern and Ohio State are playing in the Big Ten championship at Lucas Oil Stadium. Big 12 championship is between Oklahoma and Iowa State at Jerry World, and the ACC championship, which Notre Dame is competing in, which is new, is at Bank of America Stadium in Charlotte. Evan has made the trip there on some occasions, probably when Georgia Tech was playing in that game.
Yes.
And the SEC title game will be taking place at Mercedes-Benz Stadium. That's where Evan actually lives now. You're going to make are they letting people in for those games?
Probably. I mean,
it is the
it's
South.
the South. And
That's true.
the
Yeah,
rules
that's a
don't
good
really
point.
apply. Like watching those Ole Miss games, for example. Nobody was wearing a mask. Everybody's all crammed in together.
Yeah.
So I'm sure they're letting people in. The stadium is beautiful. Falcons games, it's not sold out. So I imagine they'll allow some sort of sparse crowd.
Okay. Cool. So that's all we've got for college football, unless anybody else has any fun facts you want to add.
Georgia Tech's game against Miami got canceled. So
Okay. Sorry to hear
season's
that.
over at 3-7. We're going to lose to Miami. So.
Probably.
Eric Nigerian made his debut for the Maryland Terrapins this past week. Had a pretty darn good game, too. DeMatha guy.
Yeah, it's not too shabby. So we'll move on to pro football. We'll look back at week 13 a little bit. We'll start with the team. They played the San Francisco 49ers and won in a pretty competitive and heavily defense-influenced game. I don't think that we didn't score a touchdown offensively, did we?
No.
Okay, so there you go. So Alex Smith unfortunately suffered a calf strain. He had to leave the game, and so we were subjected to more of Dwayne Haskins and his inability to play. Sorry, Ohio State fans. He's not very good in the NFL. But they still got the win, and so that's all that really matters.
Yeah, I mean, that was a really entertaining game. I was really impressed with their performance. Coming off of the last couple of wins, I wasn't really expecting that at all from them. And they kept it right on rolling. And, obviously beating Pittsburgh is a big deal. They were, especially because they were undefeated when we did it. But I still didn't think that, then having to travel across the country, play against a 49ers team that, yes, has been ravaged by injuries, but also has a really good defense. I didn't think they were going to get it done. I certainly would not have predicted they'd do it without an offensive touchdown. I think I saw a stat that said it was the first game Washington had won without an offensive touchdown since the 90s.
Oh, wow.
But Chase Young, on the other side, an Ohio State guy who is doing very well in the NFL, had a defensive touchdown in the game. And, we've heard some people this year, criticize certain aspects of Chase Young's games, but I think those people just haven't really watched the tape, and they haven't seen the fact that the reason that he's not the one getting the sacks is because people are double teaming him. I mean, we're seeing a lot of offensive linemen talk about, they're keeping an eye on where he is the same way that they keep an eye on where Aaron Donald is or Khalil Mack. Like, these are big name players, or Myles Garrett. These are
high praise.
These are not rookie of the year candidates. These are defensive player of the year candidates that he's being compared to. And so he's opening it up for his teammates to be able to make plays in the backfield. And because of that, guys like Montez Sweat are now getting a lot of respect. And that's, it's kind of an I scratch your back, you scratch mine situation, where now people are having to focus on other defenders on that defensive line. And Chase Young is starting to get his. And he made his presence felt big time this weekend.
Yeah, that was I didn't even get to see that whole game, but that was tough to even watch some of the highlights. It's always hard to watch Alex Smith. I am nervous for him every time he steps on the field. Now that he's got some type of calf injury on that same leg with all the surgeries, that makes me even more nervous than I already was before.
And they're talking about he might play this week.
I hope he comes back, but I'm even more nervous to see if he comes back. But I don't know that we're going to win a lot more games without him, because unfortunately, Dwayne, my dude, respect, fellow Ohio Stater, I get it. I want him to be great, and he's just unfortunately not. Doesn't seem to have, I don't know what exactly, but the leadership isn't quite there. The accuracy isn't quite there. There's a couple of things that just aren't quite there, and we need that. We need somebody who can manage the game, who can keep drives alive, because our defense is always going to keep us in the game. At least do their best. If the offense can create some type of momentum, some type of something. So yes, shout out to Chase Young, doing his thing, being great, contributing in big ways to that win for sure. And giving Ohio State, yes, just a little, I don't know, making us look good when the other side of the ball isn't exactly doing that. So we'll see what happens this week, man. I'm nervous. I don't know if it's been said or not that Alex Smith is coming back or not coming back, but that to me will change the outcome of the game, whether Alex Smith is back or not.
It's a little disappointing, that we have to point out the lack of leadership from Dwayne Haskins, because back in week 1 against the Eagles, we saw something that seemed to indicate that the leadership was there, because everybody was talking about the speech he gave at halftime, that, when they came out for the second half, things turned around and Washington had been down, I think it was like 17-0 or at least 14-0 against the Eagles, and they came back and won that game. And we're sitting here thinking, okay, maybe still need to be a little bit worried about the inconsistency from him, because Haskins has been so bad in the first half, but he seemed to kind of get things turned around, from an accuracy standpoint in the second half. But at least the leadership is there. At least we can feel good about that. And since then, I don't know where it's been. It hasn't been there.
I mean, I don't know. A rousing halftime speech isn't quite all the qualities that you need for leadership. So, but I mean, that's
no,
okay.
But it's an indication that it might be there.
But it's also really hard to lead a team when you're struggling as much as you are. So it might not be some intangible flaw. It could just be that he's not up to the par as an NFL quarterback as far as skills go. I mean, how seriously can you take somebody as the rah-rah guy if he's playing like crap every week? So, you have to sympathize with him a little bit on that front. But I know I'm really crushing this guy right now. I probably shouldn't be, because he's probably going to play at least at some point the rest of the year, and the team is trying to make the playoffs. But I don't know. I'm optimistic about the future, though, because of how good the defense is. I think that all the hopes that we had that the Ron Rivera administration, if you will, would bring some type of accountability and culture change. And it looks like they're heading in that direction. They just need to get it sorted out on the offensive side of the ball. I don't know if that means Alex Smith will be back next year as a starter. I don't know if it means that they're going to go try and get somebody else. I couldn't tell you. But the fact that they're 6-7 and in first place, which is laughable for many reasons, but it's true at the moment. It speaks to this team having some fight, because they were 2-7. We left them for dead, rightfully so it seemed, and they're back in the mix. They could go 8-8, which if they won the division at 8-8, yeah, it's kind of weak, but it's not as embarrassing as it could have been. Like we thought it would be, that the NFC East winner was going to go 6-10.
Well, right now the NFC East leader is not worse than the last wild card team if the playoffs were to end today. So, that's at least acceptable. The last NFC wildcard team is 6-7.
Who's that?
Isn't it aren't the 49ers? Or maybe
it might be
it's
the
Falcons.
Vikings.
Yeah, I think it is the Vikings. And I'm pretty sure they're 6-7, aren't they?
They are 6-7, yeah.
So
I didn't know
the NFC as a conference is weaker than the AFC top to bottom. The top of the AFC is stronger. Or should I say the top of the NFC and the top of the AFC are about level, but once you get down from the top two, it's a much bigger drop off on the NFC side. I saw a comparison today that I think is really apt between the Washington football team and the 2017 Buffalo Bills when they made their first playoffs in God knows how long. Basically because of a good defensive unit, even though they didn't really have a whole lot to feel good about on offense. They were starting Nathan Peterman at times that season. That was the Nathan Peterman year. And
Okay, let's slow down. They started Nathan Peterman because they were stupid, and they benched Tyrod Taylor for no reason.
Okay,
Let's
but
not act
Tyrod
like
Taylor
they had
also
no
is
choice.
not. But Tyrod Taylor also is not some really great quarterback.
It's not better than Nathan
He's an
Peterman.
okay starter. He's, just like Alex Smith is an okay starter. He's not an all-star right now, but he's an okay starter. He's not really much more than that at this particular moment in time. I would put Nathan Peterman and Kyle Allen about on this. Like, Kyle Allen isn't that much better than Nathan Peterman, really. He's better. He's not that much better. Regardless, the point is they made it there off the back of their defense and just the enthusiasm and the infectious energy of their young players, which is what we seem to be seeing with Washington right now. Julie Donaldson, the new director of communications for the team, she was making a big deal on Twitter yesterday that on an off day, players were coming into the facility because they're just that excited about what's going on in that building right now. And they're that excited about the potential they have and the fact that they're in this race. Just the young, talented players in this team are doing something that we haven't really seen since RG3 and Alfred Morris back in 2013.
So, I'm sorry. Before we move on, I have to correct you, Corey. The team does not have the same record as the seventh seed. The seventh seed is the Arizona Cardinals, who are 7-6.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So, but
they're not worse than the in the hunt teams, at least.
That's true. They are not worse than the Bears.
Because at one point, like, it was like the in the hunt, and then a 2-game gap between them and the NFC teams that were not first place.
It was embarrassing seeing them up there with that record, but that's the nature of the beast. So we'll move on to Evans, Balmer Ravens, who played a barn burner of a game last night, or not last night, 2 nights ago on Monday Night Football.
It's a great game.
Yeah, they had some moments of drama and some comedic moments as well with young Lamar visiting the little boys' room for cramps, as they say. But the Ravens ultimately got the win. They won 47-42, which is certainly a bad beat, given the fact that they were favored by 3 in a lot of places, and they got a safety at the end of the game that everybody saw coming when the Browns were desperate with 2 seconds left. But nevertheless, it's still tough to watch.
Oh yeah. Oh my goodness. When that game ended, I was like winded. Like, that's how much of an adventure it was.
You were not in our fantasy football league chat like at all Monday nights.
No, I'm not. When the Ravens are playing, I put my phone on D&D. I don't talk to people. So, I check in at like halftime or something, but that's really about it. Oh my goodness. It was 34-20 in the fourth quarter, and then, Lamar just disappears. Lisa Salters is like, well, we don't know where Lamar Jackson is. He's kind of important to this whole football game thing that's going on right now. So
you guys have Chase McSorley.
Yeah, Trace McSorley. Oh, okay. Yeah, Trace McSorley. He has a song. Look up the Trace McSorley song if you're really bored. So Trace McSorley, he did the best he could before he hurt himself. And I don't understand why it's got to be so hard with this team. The defense was a sieve in the fourth quarter. Baker Mayfield could do whatever he felt like doing. Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt weren't necessarily wide open, but they weren't really getting tackled immediately either. So, the defense straight up gave up 42 points. Like, the Ravens didn't turn it over deep in their own end or anything like that. Like, they got lit up. It was the most dramatic thing that could have happened. So Lamar's gone, just in parts unknown. I believe he did have cramps. All the reporting said it was cramping up. He did have some COVID symptoms when he was on the COVID list a couple weeks ago. So maybe some of that is still lingering in terms of how his body was affected.
Yeah, I mean, he might still not, be back to his normal hydration levels. I mean, that's very much possible. But I do appreciate that he's, at least able to laugh at himself, and he's liking Twitter posts that are basically saying that he was in the little boys' room. So even if it's not true, he's able to, to enjoy the humor of it a little bit.
Oh yeah, I mean, I certainly didn't think it was that funny at the time.
Certainly.
So like, it's third down and 2, and Traces does the the read option thing, and he slips and falls awkwardly on that. What was the deal with the field on Monday night?
Yeah, Lamar was
That's
slipping
the thing.
all
Ice
the whole first
field
half.
for the game. Like I don't understand that. But anyway, so Trace trips and falls and hurts his knee and is just laying on the ground. And then they go to commercial because it's a 2-minute warning, and the screen goes dark, and that's it. So
I don't know what you were watching on, because as they were going to commercial, we saw Lamar running out onto the field on my feed.
I thought when they came back from the 2-minute warning, that's when I saw, here comes Lamar Jackson. Like, oh, okay, just surprise. He just grabs his helmet and runs out into the huddle. Like, and then throws a touchdown on 4th down.
Right.
this guy's unbelievable. So, and then it, of course, put the Ravens' porous defense out there to get march right down the field on again. I will say, though, having Justin Tucker is a tremendous luxury. Because, just when he was trotting out for that field goal, I'm like, well, the game's over. I know we won. That's it. There was zero doubt in my mind that he was going to miss that kick.
Even after he missed that PAT?
It was blocked though. Like there was a breakdown in the at the line of scrimmage.
Sure, but the thing is, when you're talking about a 55-yard field goal, you don't need even that much of a breakdown in the line of scrimmage, because you're already sending it on a lower trajectory in order to get it to go that far.
Yeah. Still, there's no doubt in my mind.
The greatest part about Lamar coming back and throwing a touchdown on that play, though, was the fact that it went to Marquise Brown, which meant that literally everybody who watches football in the universe is sitting there thinking at the same time, he's going to drop it. Everybody thought he was going to drop it, and to his credit, he didn't drop that one.
Yeah, I was ready to come on this show and run Marquise Brown right out of town.
I was ready to come on the show and tell you I told you so for dropping him in fantasy.
Yeah, I had to get rid of him. Oh my goodness. So yeah, but good for Marquise Brown, and too bad for all the people who apparently had the Ravens minus 3.5, or I guess the Browns plus 3.5 then.
Yeah, most people had him at +3, so they were looking at a push anyway. Then they were told right after that, you can rip that ticket up because you're not getting your money back either. Because tough scene. But I feel like a little bit of an unsung hero for this was Trace McSorley, because he went out there, and the first drive he was on the field, he went 3 and out, which is the most predictable thing ever because he's a third-string quarterback. But the second drive, it got to 3rd and long. It looked like they were going to go 3 and out again while they were behind, which pretty much would have spelled a loss because they probably weren't going to get the ball back at that point. And then he completes a pass, picks up the first down, picks up a couple more first downs on that drive. I mean, he could have easily just thrown 4 straight incompletions, turned it over on downs, and we would have called it a night, and nobody would have thought anything less of him because he's a third-string quarterback. But he actually made some plays, and that was just enough and just in time for the real quarterback to come back in and save the day. And I just also want to note that Trace McSorley is very fast. Like, he is a very fast quarterback. He ran a sub-4 640, and he looked so slow compared to Lamar Jackson when Lamar was on the field. It just speaks to how much better of an athlete Lamar is than every other football player out there. It's just insane.
Yeah. Lamar's athleticism is really unmatched, aside from the Olympic Games or something. Like it's just freakish in that regard.
I think at some point Disney will be calling to make some sort of film about the game. They'll get some answers, some concrete answers about whether the cramps are real or not. It'll be a whole thing. Give it like 15, 20 years, Disney will be calling and there will be some type of film about this, I'm sure.
It definitely did feel like a drama, not like real life. Had a little WWE feel to it too. It's like, and here comes Lamar Jackson, right when the Ravens looked toast. When it was 4th and 5, I was like, okay. And then I saw McSorley hurt, and I'm like, they don't have anybody else to put out there. I was like, there's no way they're going to convert this. And then Lamar comes out, and I see him running out of the tunnel. I'm like, okay, well, now they're definitely going to convert this because Lamar Jackson's not going to get stopped on 4th and 5. And sure enough, he throws a touchdown pass to the worst receiver that I've seen as a first-round pick just since the last time the Ravens drafted a first-rounder in Brashad Perryman. I mean, Marquise Brown just dude.
Yeah, I mean,
Wow.
I'm just so frustrated with him because, you're not a big guy, so he rarely ever initiates contact. So when he actually catches the ball, he usually runs backwards and then belly flops down. So that happens. He doesn't return kicks or punts. And since he's so little, he can't really do a jump ball type of thing against a defensive back. So, if you can't catch the ball, then what do you bring to the table? Why are you on the field at all if you can't catch it? So I was pretty steamed about him dropping that pass for 15 minutes. I was still, the Ravens had gotten the ball back once or twice after that. And so how did you not catch that? Oh, goodness. So we'll see. I got an alert earlier that he's now on the COVID list.
Who is?
So Marquise Brown. Yeah, among others. I don't know where it is because it gets so many alerts. But
after all the people who already done had COVID, y'all got more people who now have COVID. 2 weeks later?
Yeah, I mean, it's a pandemic, so it's kind of everywhere.
Yeah, that's true. Speaking of pandemic and COVID rules, there's something in here that says the Dez Bryant rule.
What is that?
Somebody tell me what that is.
So the NFL today decided to pass a rule that refers back to 2 weeks ago when the Ravens were getting ready to play the Dallas Cowboys. Dez Bryant was excited to get to play against his old team. He's going through warm-ups. They've already passed the 90-minute mark out from game time, which is when inactives are due, and you can't then bring anybody onto the active roster once you have announced your inactives. But half an hour before kickoff, somebody comes down and tells Dez Bryant, that inconclusive test you took earlier, well, we ran it back and you have COVID, so you're not eligible to play tonight. And the Ravens, because they were already, inside of 90 minutes from kickoff, they couldn't bring anybody onto their active roster, right? A lot of times you'll have players who are there but are healthy scratches, and they couldn't activate any of those guys for the game. Well, the NFL has decided to make a new rule that will allow teams to activate players in the case of a late disqualification based on a COVID diagnosis.
I don't know why this rule wasn't in place to begin with. This seems to make sense. If a player
that
can
wasn't
get scratched
foreseen
last minute, then you should be able to replace them last minute.
It's probably something that wasn't foreseen. They probably expected, we're gonna run these tests early in the day. We're gonna know if somebody is positive before the game. They probably did not anticipate an inconclusive result that would require them to then run a second test much closer to game time. But now that that's happened, they've made the adjustment.
Okay.
Eric is muted.
Oh.
Yeah, that was the thing. I didn't want you to hear me eating my tater tots here, so.
You're eating tater tots.
Yes. Yeah.
You have a Pepsi.
Yeah, I do.
Is it a cold Pepsi?
Yeah, it's pretty cold. It's nice. So, in addition to the Dez Bryant rule that I just found out existed, we also have information regarding the playoff bubbles or lack thereof for the NFL playoffs. So there's not going to be any bubbles. Teams are going to travel as they're supposed to or usually would. And obviously that could lead to issues that we've seen all season. But it also is what it is at this point. I mean, we're 3 months into the season at this point. Whatever happens, happens. It's the COVID year of sports, and this is the path we've chosen. So
this actually goes beyond just the traveling. It's also you can't. There's going to be no localized playoff bubbles either, meaning that teams cannot mandate that their players stay in hotels during the playoffs or anything like that, except for the night before their game. So essentially, you cannot institute any additional restrictions beyond what we already have in place during the playoffs.
I think this is a bad idea.
I do too. The idea, what they're saying is it's been working so far, so let's keep doing what's working. It's like, okay, it's working okay, but we're still getting positive tests. And the playoffs are the most important part of the season. Once you get there, you want to make sure your players stay, even more healthy than they're already hopefully staying.
Yeah.
So
I mean, the Ravens just got off a stretch where we had a Thursday game postponed to Wednesday, followed by a Tuesday game, followed by a Monday game. So we haven't played on a Sunday since before Thanksgiving.
Yeah, I mean, COVID is the NFL's best friend. You got a bunch of people all close together, breathing on each other in the same room, in and out. That's how this whole thing gets spread in the first place. So we got people canceling weddings, not going to church, but we got folks traveling up and down across the country for these playoff games. That just, to me, sounds like it's got disaster written all over it. When you've already, in the regular season, like Ev just said, got games moved from Sunday to Wednesday, from Tuesday. Like, it's probably not going to be good, knowing COVID, knowing these NFL players and the lives they live, seeing based off of what's already happened, the games that have already been moved and rescheduled. That doesn't sound like a good idea to me, but we'll see what happens.
Yeah, just gotta hope that there's no Denver Broncos situation that comes up in the playoffs, or they gotta grab a practice squad guy to fill in for Josh Allen. That'd be quite a shame.
I mean, yeah, you just have you go home. That's it.
Yeah, that's your season's over, buddy. Sorry. So we'll get to some best and worst per Football Outsiders. We do this every week. The best quarterback of the week was Aaron Rodgers. He torched. I don't even know who the Packers played. I think it was the Lions.
Yep.
Yeah. I mean, we knew that he was going to light them up. And Daniel Jones made an ignominious return to the field, having a stinker of a game against the Cardinals. That was just bad. So do better, Danny Dimes, or else you're not going to be called Danny Dimes for much longer.
He'll just be called Danny Dimes, ironically.
Possibly. That's how I've been calling him his whole career, because I've never thought he was that good. So let's move on to the running backs. Derrick Henry had the highest total DYAR this week because he's a beast. And the worst was some guy named Jeremy McNichols. I don't even know who he plays for.
That's his teammate.
Oh.
It's his backup.
Okay. All right. Well, good to know.
You should know who your fantasy starting running back's backup is.
No, I shouldn't.
Yeah, you should.
Why?
Even when it's Derrick Henry and nobody's vulturing carries from him, you should still know.
Derrick Henry doesn't get carries vultured from him, so I don't care. He just doesn't. He's too good. So the rushing leader was Dalvin Cook, who had a respectable game going up against a really good run defense in Tampa Bay. And the worst of the week was Clyde Edwards-Helaire, who I keep telling people is not good.
I knew you were going to say that.
I've been saying that all season. I'm like, this guy isn't that good. Like, everybody's like, oh, the Chiefs got Clyde Edwards-Helaire. That's just one more weapon for Patrick Mahomes. I'm like, he's not that good. He's not good catching the ball out of the backfield. He's not good running the ball. He's just not that good.
This is the complete opposite of what we were saying when we were sitting right here in hour 5 of our show during the draft.
Jesus.
We were talking about how he's great out of the backfield and he gets discounted just because he's a short guy. But now he's a bum suddenly. So,
Not having a very good rookie year, I'm just saying.
Okay.
All
I
right,
think
and
he's better than what you're giving him credit for, even after some rough weeks.
I'm giving him credit for what the numbers say, and the numbers say he's not good despite having every opportunity to be good. So I'm going to be a hater for now.
I mean, what team is crowding the box against the Chiefs?
Right, like, the Chiefs have a good line.
He really has not been that effective. He's had some decent games. He's had some good fantasy outputs, but he's not running that effectively on a per carry basis.
Nope. So moving on to the pass catchers of this little bit, Travis Kelce had the highest total because Travis Kelce is very good. Certainly the best tight end of the league, will be the All-Pro selection again. I think you could actually make an outside argument that Travis Kelce could be Offensive Player of the Year. I mean, when was the last time a tight end led the league in receiving yards? And that's what he's doing right now. That's insane.
Never, actually.
Yeah, so that would be one hell of an accomplishment. So maybe people need to keep that in mind. And the worst of the week was DJ Chark. He plays for the Jags. It happens.
That's what happens with Mike Glennon and then Gardner Minshew are throwing you the ball.
Yeah, it's when you're playing for the Jags, you're liable to look really, really bad, even if you're not. All right, so I guess we'll get into our game picks. Everybody's got their confidence in, except for I'm not sure how we want to handle this. Faryn, have you made picks for these games?
Yes, yeah, I think so. Based on the information that I have, I looked at all the games. I picked the people who I thought would win from highest probability of winning to least. So if that's what we're doing, then yes.
Yes. So since I don't have your picks written down here, you can chip in and tell us what you think about these outcomes. We'll start with the Thursday night game. The Chargers are playing at the Raiders. Corey and I both on the Raiders. Corey with somewhat level of confidence. He's put 5 points on them. I only put 2. Evan only has 1 on the Chargers. And who do you got for this one, Faryn?
I picked the Raiders with a question mark, and I put 6 because I don't really know. They're kind of on the wrong side of where they should be going right now in December. But the Chargers are not good. So
yeah, that's kind of where I think that's where I'm at, and that's probably where Corey's at a little bit. Evan, why are you picking the Chargers?
What's going on?
Because I'm a crazy person. It's obvious. Like I said last week, the Chargers are a drug I just can't quit. The Raiders are just trending down. The Chargers can't really trend down because they're already at the bottom. So, Chargers for one. Why not? I was kind of on the Raiders. I would put Raiders. I actually had Raiders for 1 in here. I'm like, you know what? No, let's just go for it.
Why not?
I'm in last place.
Roll the dice. You got nothing to lose.
2 wins in a row for the Chargers.
Evan did go lone wolf on the Chargers this past week, I believe, and it worked out. So
there you go.
Yeah. You gotta stay with the hot hand. That 1-game winning streak is so enticing.
I honestly went Raiders primarily because they're at home. I think that this could be a competitive game. I mean, the Chargers do have a good offense, and they played much better this week than they did against the Patriots a week prior. But I think the Raiders' offense got things going again just a little bit. This past week, Nelson Aguilar had another good game after a couple weeks not playing very well, as we had been accustomed to seeing when he was in Philadelphia. So I think the Raiders can get this done, but their defense is definitely going to have their hands full.
Yeah, the Raiders' defense is terrible. So, I mean, that's all there is to it. They got run all over.
I started them against the Jets, and it barely worked for me in fantasy.
Yeah, because it speaks to how bad they are. I mean, the whole season, when they were really rolling, I kept looking at their DVOA on Football Outsiders, thinking this is a pretty good team, and their numbers were terrible. They were considered a bad team. I was like, why? And I looked at their defensive numbers. I'm like, oh, that's why, because the defense is trash. They somehow got away with it for periods of time. But
because the offense was playing very well early in the year.
Yeah, and the Raiders play a brand of ball control where they take up a lot of clock, so that suppresses your opponent's scoring total, which makes it look like their defense doesn't suck that badly, but it really does.
Yeah.
All right, so we'll move on to the next game on the list, which isn't that interesting of a game. Bills at Broncos. We're all pretty heavy on the Bills. I imagine, Faryn, you are as well.
I am, yes. I have Bills at 10. So
Okay, so you're a little less confident than us because Corey and I have him at 14, and Evan's got him at 13. So I guess why you're a little lackluster on the Bills? They're pretty hot, right?
I mean, they are. I give credit to the Bills for sure. I don't know what the Broncos are doing for real. Like, I don't really know where they're at. They didn't have a quarterback. I don't know how many weeks ago. So I feel like the Broncos are a little bit unpredictable. I don't know also where this game is being played. If it's in Denver, they got their air stuff and elevation.
It is in
things.
Denver.
Okay. So there you go. I feel like you never know what's actually going to happen in Denver. Folks might, I don't know, sit out or something like that. But the Bills are good. Like, I recognize that they're good. They're coming off a tough, win, beating the Steelers. Folks might be a little bit tired, a little bit run down from that. But I still believe that they will win the game.
Yeah, it certainly could be a letdown game for the Bills, given the fact that they are coming off such a big win, and the Broncos look like such a meek opponent to follow that up. But I don't know. The Broncos are so shaky and bad. I'm a little worried about the game staying competitive.
I will give Drew Lock credit for playing a really good game this past week. I know, Eric, you don't think that Drew Lock is anything special at all. I still think that he's got some talent and some potential in the NFL, and he played an almost mistake-free game this past week.
Did the Broncos even play this past week? I've never seen their game on the red zone.
They had the weren't they? That was the Chargers, wasn't it? Or no?
No, the Chargers played the Falcons.
That's right. They played the Panthers and they won.
Oh, okay.
Okay, I mean, I don't know. I think that if Drew Lock's talent level was, the same size as his mouth, I think that he'd be a hell of a player. But he's not that. So he talks a lot. He does a lot of this for a guy who's got no ability. So, yeah.
Good rapper on the sideline apparently too.
Yeah, good for him. That doesn't win you many football games. Hate to tell you. Sorry.
Okay.
All right. I guess Evan, do you have anything to add on this one?
Not really. No, I think the Bills are good and the Broncos are not.
Fair enough. That works. Works for me. So next game is Panthers at Packers. We're again no surprises here. We're all pretty heavy on the Packers. Faryn, how you feeling about this one?
Yes. Also on the Packers, this is what happened in going through the games. I'm sure pretty confident that the Packers will win the game. I only have them at 9. I haven't seen the Panthers actually play. I know they're not great. But I just think there's some other quality wins I can count on that aren't necessarily the Packers. But they'll win. They got Aaron Rodgers. He's doing what he's supposed to be doing right now. So
I'm interested to hear who you have heavy confidence on, if not the Packers.
I can let you know now.
Well, no, don't spoil it. All
keep
three of our listeners are dying to hear.
Okay, well, we'll keep them invested.
Oh yeah. So gotta keep them on their toes. But I mean, Corey had only 10 points on the Packers, and Evan and I had 12. So it's not like it's that big of a discrepancy. I think we all agree that I don't know the Panthers are a little frisky. They're not as bad as some of the really bad teams in the NFL. So I could see them potentially making this interesting for a little while. They competed with the Chiefs. In fact, I think they had a chance at a game-winning field goal against the Chiefs, but it was a ridiculously long field goal, and it didn't end up connecting for them. But they've been in some games with some teams that you wouldn't expect them to hang with. So, I mean, the Packers should win. It's in Lambeau, but I don't know. I think Christian McCaffrey's going to be back too. Although Mike Davis.
Doubtful.
Oh, is he really? For some reason, I thought he was going to be back. Okay, well, never mind.
Yeah, no, CMC is still out, but Teddy Bridgewater, he had a little stretch of some subpar performances. He played okay this past week against a good Denver Broncos defense. It wasn't enough for them to get the win, which, they should have won that game, let's be honest. But, he's playing well. Mike Davis is still a good running back. Their defense has been pretty opportunistic. I could see them making this interesting.
Evan, you got anything?
I still don't trust the Panthers that much, and the Packers are rolling. Sunday's high in Green Bay, 35 degrees. So.
Yeah, weather seems to favor the home team in that situation.
Winds 10 to 15 miles an hour, so
all right,
even colder than that.
All right, so we'll move on to the 49ers at the Cowboys. This is a really old-school rivalry game, if you will. But the teams aren't quite up for that type of a game.
No.
The three, Corey, Evan, and I are all on the 49ers with varying degrees of confidence. Faryn, who you got in this one?
Yeah, I unfortunately have the Cowboys, and I only have them at 4 because I don't think either of these teams are great. The 49ers just lost to the football team. So, maybe they come in with some energy. The Cowboys, to me, have nothing. They,
Right.
Folks are injured, and everybody can say that, and I understand, but folks are really injured. Andy Dalton, I feel like he's hit or miss. When he hits it, great, good. When he misses, it's bad. So, and I don't really think the Cowboys have a defense either. But the 49ers are also just injuries upon injuries upon injuries. They don't have offense. So I think the Cowboys learned to pick up whatever pieces are left of their season last week. And I think they're going to try to win some more games. Otherwise, they're going to be hearing from Jerry. And then Jerry's going to talk to the coach, Mike McCarthy, and that he's going to be giving that to the rest of the team. So I just think people are tired of losing. So they might pull out a win.
Oh, after all of that stuff you said bad about the Cowboys, you're picking them.
Look, the 49ers aren't good either. I also,
Right.
again, just don't like the Cowboys as a team anyway. So I don't have a lot of positive things to say about them, like without points being attached to it.
I feel like when Jerry Jones gets involved, that's a negative. Like, that makes it worse.
That's
Like,
probably
the reason they're not a competent franchise is because of him.
So, Evan, since you were so passionate about trashing Jerry Jones, go ahead and explain your 7 points on the 49ers.
I mean, we've been saying that the Cowboys have no defense. Their offense is okay at best. The 49ers have a much better coach. They can sort of scheme some stuff into, competent play. So I think they hang around and get it done in, like 19-13 or something.
Corey, what do you got?
Yeah, I don't trust the Cowboys at all in this game. The 49ers defense is still playing well. We haven't it just 49ers are going to win this game.
Okay, cool. I also have the 49ers, but I only put one confidence point on them because I don't really trust them after what I saw last week. I know that the team has a very strong defense, but
and the Cowboys have the opposite of that.
I understand that. No, I get that. And the Cowboys, like Faryn said, they showed a little bit of fight last week. I
against the Bengals.
I don't care. I was a hater last week, and I said there's no way that I'm trusting the Cowboys to get that done. Y'all were saying the Cowboys are going to beat them because the Bengals are so bad. I was like, the Cowboys are almost as bad.
You had less confidence. You actually had less confidence than we did on the Cowboys last week.
I know, that's my point. But they showed me something. It wasn't much, but it was enough for me to say they're still trying out there. They're still trying to play football. They haven't quit. They're not the Jets. And, the 49ers, I don't know. I feel like the attrition of all the injuries is going to make this more interesting than it should have been. I mean, I was not going to put a ton of confidence on the 49ers to get this one done. But I still picked them.
Okay.
So we'll move on to the next game on the slate. The Seahawks are at the football team. We all have the Seahawks, or at least the three of us do. Faryn, who do you got? You going to homer out, or are you going to stick with the favorite?
Yeah, no, I did pick the Seahawks. It was hard because I want to pick the team. I really do, but it's not going to happen without Alex Smith. I would love it if he made a miracle sort of come back again and played, but it with like my heart goes out to Haskins because I want to see him do well. I really do, but he's not there. He doesn't have it. And the Seahawks do. So I unfortunately did pick the Seahawks. But I only gave him what?
How many points you put on?
I just gave him 2 because it hurt.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm at 3.
Okay.
So I guess the Ashes are in one boat because they're not very confident in the Seahawks. Meanwhile, Corey and I are a little higher on Seattle because Corey's got 6 and I've got 7 on him. For the same reasons that you mentioned, though, no Alex Smith means worse quarterback play than usual, which is not great.
It's not what you want.
You certainly don't want to be missing your starter.
Yeah.
But I mean, I also know that the Seahawks defense makes some not great quarterbacks look really good, and I don't know if that'll apply to Dwayne because there's certainly probably a threshold that you have to meet to be able to reap those benefits. But I still worry a little bit about the Seahawks defense. But I know that Russell Wilson is very capable of pulling a rabbit out of a hat. Even with a really tough defense, he's going to do something against this defense, which means that the team's going to have to score points to win. And given the situation, it's hard for me to count on that.
The football team's defensive line is going to eat the Seahawks' offensive line for breakfast.
Oh, yeah.
So.
And Wilson has been taking more sacks recently than usual. So I do think that Washington's going to get to him a fair amount. And if there was a defense that Dwayne Haskins could potentially throw on and have some success against, it would be this defense. And if Alex Smith is able to play, this should be another game that he, for whatever weird reason, throws for 390 yards like he did earlier this year. Whether that's right, but whether that's going to be enough or not is an entirely different question. And I don't see Washington as a team that's going to be able to put up a whole lot of points, which means that Seattle's going to stay in it. And when you've got receivers as talented as the Seahawks have, I still have to give them the nod.
Okay, so we'll move on to NFC North division rival game. The Bears are at the Vikings. Corey's got 1 point on the Bears. Evan and I are both on the Vikings. Faryn, where are you on this one?
Yes, 1 point on the Bears. I think both of these teams are average, and I think they're both average. And so neither really, and my heart also goes out to Kirk Cousins. I want him to be great. He is average. He's not really, to me, the guy who goes and wins the game at the last second. I think maybe he's done that like once or twice, but he's not that guy to me. I think the Bears quarterback had his first good game of the season last week, so maybe he's riding that energy. But I don't have a lot of confidence in either of these teams to win really any game, but especially when they're playing each other anything can happen. But I put one on the Bears coming off of a good win last week.
Yeah, it's this one's tough. The Vikings defense is not very good this year, especially against the pass. They do have plenty of talent on the offensive side of the ball. As you said, Faryn, Kirk Cousins is kind of hit or miss. He'll have some really good weeks, but he'll also have some stinkers. But he's got a lot of weapons around him, in Dalvin Cook, in Justin Jefferson, in Adam Thielen. Irv Smith has made his presence felt at the tight end position recently. So there's definitely something there to like about the Vikings. So I don't think that this is going to be a cakewalk if the Bears win. But I do think that the Bears have the advantage in this game. Their defense is really good. That was really the difference maker for me in deciding between these two teams, is that the Bears defense is good and the Vikings defense is not good. But on the other side, I mean, Allen Robinson was running like a wild man all over the field this past week, and that's because he finally had a quarterback who was getting him the ball. Nick Foles was not getting him the ball. Early in the season, Trubisky was hit or miss, but he was at least consistent in getting the ball to Allen Robinson. So I don't think that this was a one-week aberration of getting A-Rob the ball. We can expect this now that Trubisky is back in the lineup. And when Allen is eating, the team is going to do a lot better. So I think the Bears should be able to win this game.
Corey, I think, I mean, I obviously disagree, but I feel like you're in love with Allen Robinson. And
he is. Oh, yeah.
There's no doubt about that.
I can't pick the Bears because Mitchell Trubisky's their quarterback. I know Kirk Cousins is prone to goofiness, certainly. Like with the dancing and the you like that and kneeling down instead of spiking the ball at one time. But I can't trust the Bears. The Vikings are at home. If this game was in Chicago, I would pick the Bears. But Vikings at home, Vikings win.
Yeah, I'm kind of in the same boat with Evan. I know that Foles played the last time these teams met, and the Vikings were able to pull out a not that convincing win. But the fact that they're at home right now, that gives me more reason to believe that they're going to win. I think that the Bears are healthier on defense than they were, I think, last time they played, which means it'll be a little tougher for Dalvin Cook to run the ball, which is kind of the bread and butter of the Vikings offense. They rely on him to run the ball like 30 times a game. They're highly interested, seemingly, in running him into the ground. I don't get why he needs that many touches when he's got pretty good backups, and he's obviously injury prone at this point. But they still say, "Hey, you're getting 35 touches." That's the way it works. But I digress. I still think the Vikings are a more talented offense than the Bears are, obviously, especially considering that Kirk Cousins is better than Mitch Trubisky. I know that the Bears' defense has been pretty good, and the fact that they got Akeem Hicks back is going to make life tougher for Minnesota, but they're at home. It's 2 6-7 teams in a division game squaring off. Home team gets the points. So we'll move on to our next game. We've got another division matchup. The Patriots are at the Dolphins. I believe the Patriots beat the Dolphins back in week 1 with Ryan Fitzpatrick was starting. And it looked like the Patriots were going to be a pretty good team. That at that point, Cam Newton had 2 rushing touchdowns. And, it was good vibes going on. But since then, the teams have kind of gone in opposite directions to an extent. So Evan's got 2 on the Dolphins. Corey's got 3. I've got 5. Faryn, who are you feeling on this one?
Wow, yikes. I got a lot of confidence in the Dolphins. They hung in there with the Chiefs. So I got 13 on the Dolphins.
Ooh.
Yeah, I do. Also, the Patriots have no identity. Like, who are the Patriots? They don't really know what they're doing. I mean, Cam, like you said, like from week 1 to now, they've gone in the opposite direction of where they need to be going. Belichick without Brady is a little bit lost. I don't know that he knows exactly, plays and schemes and things. Also, he's a cheater. So when he doesn't have somebody else ready and willing to cheat with him, I don't think things go as well as he hopes for. Um, and the Dolphins are doing good. Okay, the Dolphins have some serious offense. All right, they're scoring points. So I'm going Dolphins 13.
It's a heavy load and shots fired at Bill Belichick there.
I mean, if he wants to come for me, that's fine, but he's a cheater for sure.
I'm sure he's probably just focused on his football team. But
yeah. Well, I mean, the dog is making all the draft picks. That's why they haven't drafted well past couple years.
Hey, you leave Nike alone.
Okay. Well, this is tough because I can't really argue any of those points. I still think that's a lot of confidence though, because the Patriots aren't. There seem to be a team that's just like they shouldn't be good at all. They should be like right down there with the Jaguars with the level of talent they have, and yet they still hang in games and they compete and they win some games that they shouldn't. And so that gave me pause to put a lot of confidence in Miami, even though I do think that at this point they're playing much better football than the Patriots are overall. And I just worry, though, because, again, it's a rookie quarterback going up against Bill Belichick. History is not on Tua's side there, but I think the rest of the deficiencies that the Patriots have will make up for that and still let the Dolphins come away victorious.
That was my biggest concern, is just a rookie quarterback going up against Bill Belichick's scheme. That and the fact that it's in Miami, which historically the Patriots don't play very well in South Beach, but how much of that was the Patriots and how much of that was Tom Brady just not playing very well down there in December. But like you said, Eric, I think that there are enough other deficiencies on the Patriots side that the Dolphins should win. But Patriots have won some games that they really should not have won. They're very streaky within each game, right? Most of the time when you talk about a team being streaky, it's that they'll win a few games in a row and then they'll be really bad for a month. But like even within a game, they'll have a few really good drives and then just disappear. So you just never really know with them. They're really inconsistent and unpredictable, which makes me nervous.
Yeah. I agree with pretty much everybody. I think the Dolphins win, but my concern is, like Corey said, the Bill Belichick might have a little something special saved for the rookie quarterback.
Eric said that first. I stole it from Eric.
I said that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Although to be fair, I didn't plagiarize. I credited my source.
Oh, okay. Well, as one of the hosts on this show said, the rookie quarterback against Belichick. Like, we saw how he made Justin Herbert look, right? Like, Justin Herbert is still trying to figure out what planet he's on after seeing that Belichick defense.
Yikes.
So, it's that's my only concern. But the Dolphins are certainly the better team.
All right.
You might say that Justin Herbert was seeing ghosts.
Yes.
Jeez. Here we go with that stuff. Hopefully he didn't say it while mic'd up. So we'll move on to the Jaguars at the Ravens. The Ravens are going to win. Evan, Corey, and I have 15. I imagine, Faryn, you're in the same boat, right?
Yep. I got Ravens at 16. There's no reason y'all should lose this game. You got them at 15.
Yeah.
The Ravens are a better team. The Jaguars have won one game.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so that's unacceptable for professional athletes, but that's where they are right now. So
they're all about to get fired.
Okay, so for everybody who's about to lose their job, with a team that could be in the playoffs, the Ravens should win the game.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah, I don't think we have to spend too much. Yeah. Corey, anything interesting to add about this one?
No.
Okay, fair enough. We'll move on to another game. This one has a little more controversy with the three of us picking. Corey's got 4 points on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers to beat the Falcons. Evan's got 6. I've got 10. Faryn, how are you feeling about this game?
Yeah, I've got 5 on the Buccaneers because the Falcons managed to lose games that they shouldn't lose. So I'm more confident in the Falcons losing than I am with the Buccaneers winning, but that's just kind of how the game works. Tom Brady, although I do not like him, is still Tom Brady. And the Buccaneers defense is good. And so, I got the Buccaneers with 5.
Yeah, well, since I went pretty heavy on them with 10, I guess I'll explain myself. I didn't think I would have to, but this is how it is. I'm not sure why anybody would have a ton of confidence in the Falcons to do anything. They lost to the Chargers, who can't get out of their own way. Like they found a way to lose to the only other team that can't figure out how to win.
I believe I had that.
Yeah, you did, and you almost didn't though. You saw what happened at the end. You almost didn't have it because that's what the Falcons and the Chargers do. But that's not really what the Bucs do. The Bucs can't beat good teams, but they're not playing a good team. They're playing a very subpar team. Offensively, the Falcons are certainly not up to par with what we were used to seeing in the past. Matt Ryan's having a down year. I mentioned in the preseason, I think he's on the decline. He hasn't done anything to rectify that in my mind and change my mind on that one. I don't think he's going to have a very fun day with the Bucs pass rush. I think that the Bucs offense is still kind of all over the place. Didn't really show me a ton to inspire me against the Vikings, but they didn't have to, and they won't have to against the Falcons either.
Yeah, I mean, the Buccaneers, they should dominate, but division games in this division are just strange. Like the Falcons seem to hang around with the Saints when they have no business hanging around with the Saints most of the time. So I put 6 points on Tampa Bay. And then Tampa Bay's offense, they just don't execute. I don't know what the problem is. Like they don't seem to know what they're doing. I mean, I understand there's a pandemic. Wasn't a whole lot of practice in the off season. And everybody in there is new, but at this point you should be firing on all cylinders, and they just haven't been.
Yeah, I mean, I don't really have a whole lot to add. Evan already said it. Games in this division get a little bit weird, and they tend to be pretty close, even when they shouldn't be. So it's difficult for me to ever put a whole lot of confidence in these games because I always end up getting very nervous in the fourth quarter if I have a lot of confidence on one team or the other.
Oh, what did I say, though? I said get Scotty Miller involved and good things will happen. And Tom Brady threw a touchdown pass on a bomb to Scotty Miller. So thank you for listening.
That was last week.
Yeah, and then they did it, and that proved to be right because they used Scotty Miller, and it paid off. So, moving on to the next game that we have on our slate, another game that I don't think is particularly interesting. Lions at Titans. Corey, Evan, and I have 11 points. Faryn, where are we at on this one?
Yes, I actually Titans 11 on the Titans.
Oh, hey!
Oh my goodness!
Hey,
the Titans again, just a better team.
Yeah,
have an all-star running back. Like, feed him the ball, you're good. The Titans should win. And the poor Lions, they don't really, they fired their coach. It's not a lot of leadership. Stafford may or may not be hurt. So I think the Lions got too much chaos to come together to win this game, and the Titans are just better. So Titans.
Yeah, it says Matt Stafford is not counting himself out this week, but that sounds like he's pretty injured if he's having to use language like that, which makes me kind of look at it and say maybe I should put a little more confidence on the Titans. But it is what it is now. We're all at 11. I don't think we have much more to say about this one. Titans probably roll. Moving on to another game where the three of us, Corey, Evan, and I, have 8 points on this team. We've got the Texans at the Colts. The three of us have 8 points on Indianapolis to win. So I don't know how it ended up that we all ended up at 8. Faryn, if you're
I
at
put
8.
8 because you two had 8.
Oh, interesting. I also put 8 just because I wanted to put 8. I think the Colts are a good team. Philip Rivers, man, I don't really know. I can't figure him out for real. May I'll leave his personal life out of it. The, the Texans, I think, are better than what their record says, but they can't win games for some reason, though. Like, I don't know exactly what their stumbling block is. I think the Colts win the game.
The Texans' issue is that they keep sending good players out the door and not replacing them.
There's that.
So the funny thing is, I expected to be lower than everybody else on this game because I specifically put less confidence than I felt like I should have on the Colts, with the reason being that this is the second time this year the Colts have played an opponent twice in the course of 3 weeks. They did it against the Titans, beat the Titans pretty convincingly the first time, and then inexplicably dropped a dud the second time they played them. They beat Houston 2 weeks ago, and you have to be a little bit nervous as a Colts fan that they could potentially drop another dud against a player as talented as Deshaun Watson is. There's no reason that the Colts should lose this game, but Deshaun Watson has, he's been a top 5 quarterback this year, even with nobody around him. And there's an argument to be had that he's been better than the 5th best.
I mean, but it's 11 on 11, right? Like, I mean, if they're somehow going to play one-on-one Watson against Rivers, then Watson's got it, obviously. But, they get rid of DeAndre Hopkins for no reason. Will Fuller's having a career year, he gets suspended. I think Brandon Cooks is injured. Like, there's nobody left. They're all gone.
Last I saw, Cooks is supposed to be back in the lineup this week, but we'll see.
Oh, okay.
Regardless, even with Cooks, the Colts should win this game. But just the fact that they can turn around and lose to a team that they just beat 2 weeks earlier, it's not like the Titans had become a different team in the interim. You had the game plan to beat them, and you couldn't execute it. It could happen again.
I would say the Titans are a significantly better team than the Texans.
Oh, absolutely.
And the Texans just got done getting boat raced by the Bears. That should never happen, ever. You have 36 points. Yeah, you did. Evans picking up some W's late in the season after catching a whole bunch of L's. Yeah. So there's that. Yeah, I agree with everything that everybody has said. The Colts are clearly better. Their run game has really picked it up. Jonathan Taylor has broken through whatever rookie struggles he had earlier in the season, dating back to in the preseason and training camp as well. He's looking like a legit back of the future there for him. Philip Rivers has been Philip Rivers. He's out there doing what he does, which is
better this year than he was last year.
Oh yeah, he's playing much better football this year. He was just terrible last season, but he seems to have found a role. He just straight up doesn't bother to do the nitty gritty. He lets Jacoby Brissett handle all the quarterback sneaks, which I think is hilarious. But if that's what you need to do when you're an old man, I guess that's what you need to do. So I think the Colts should win that one, and that should really put them in a good position come playoff time, especially as they duke it out with the Titans for the AFC South. So we'll move on to another probably uninteresting game. I got the Eagles at the Cardinals, and somehow, again, Corey, Evan, and I have the same number of confidence. Of course, now I find out it's by design because Evan's cheating, and he's looking at ours, and he's bizarrely putting his confidence the same as us, even though he's behind and needs to catch up.
Right.
I don't want to lose any more ground.
But you're behind. It's like saying, let me run the ball down 7 because I don't want to risk my quarterback throwing a pick.
I mean, yeah. I think I can make up ground other places.
Apparently, you're limiting your options there, but hey, that's a strategy. So Faryn, who do you have in this one? I imagine it's the Cardinals, but how confident are you feeling in them?
Yep, I got the Cardinals at 3. I'm not overly confident in them. The Eagles, I feel like, are a little bit of a wild card now after last week with the Saints. Of course, we got a bigger, more full picture of Jalen Hurts and what he brings, the spark that he brings to the team. Although they had, like everybody else, a bunch of injuries, like the defense kind of showed up last week against the Saints, and everybody's talking about how good the Saints were, and yet and still the Eagles won. So that's a surprise to me. I do think again the Cardinals are a better team. So in real life, the Cardinals should win this game. I have a more confidence in their quarterback. I have more confidence in their overall offense. So I'm going with the Cardinals with 3.
Okay. I feel like the Cardinals they're a little bit wishy-washy too at times, but I think that after seeing a full game with a game plan that the Eagles put out there against the Saints, that the Cardinals will be at least better prepared to handle that type of offense because they'll know what's coming. I still think the Saints should have known that something like that was coming because, I mean, that's Jalen Hurts' skill set dating back to college. But they seem to be caught with their pants down a little bit. I don't think the Cardinals will make the same mistake. And the Cardinals have a better quarterback than the Saints do for sure. And I trust Kyler Murray more than I trust Jalen Hurts in his second start. Although the Eagles are certainly more competitive with him in the lineup than with Carson Wentz, who he's lost out there. So, maybe somebody will find him.
Jalen Hurts, potentially Evan's fantasy starter this week in the playoffs.
Who's that? You're starting Jalen Hurts?
Yes. Yeah.
Matthew Stafford is hurt.
Stafford, yeah.
Okay. Well, I guess you have to.
It's desperation heave time.
So I think you're going to lose, Evan. Sorry to tell you that.
I think that as well, actually. But You know what? We're in the dance. Fantasy football is a get in the tournament type of thing. So now that I finally qualified for the tournament, we'll just see what happens. I don't have high expectations. I am concerned about the Cardinals, though. They seem to be trending down. They finally got a win against the Giants, but the Giants aren't really all that great. They had gone a stretch where the only game they won was on the Hail Murray. They should have lost that game too. So I do have some concerns about them, but the Eagles, they're yikes. Oh dear. Yeah, the Eagles, I don't see it out of them. They can't play offense, they can't play defense, they can't play special teams, they can't do nothing.
Corey?
You guys have said it all.
Okay, that's cool. We'll move on to the next game. Again, we're slogging through the uninteresting stuff. We got the Jets at Rams. Corey, Evan, and I have maxed ours at 16. Faryn, tell me you picked the Jets so that we can talk about this game.
Unfortunately, not. I got the Rams at 15. Again, unacceptable to have 0 wins as professional athletes who are being paid millions of dollars. But the Jets are terrible. We all know this. So the Rams should win the game.
We know this.
Cool.
Yes, we know
it's old American. Let's move on.
We know this.
Chiefs at Saints. We've got a little bit of disagreement within the ranks of Corey, Evan, and me. I've got 6 points on the Chiefs. Evan's got 5. Corey's got 2 on the New Orleans Saints to pull this. I'm assuming it's an upset.
Yeah, Chiefs are 3-point favorites.
Okay, so Faryn, who are you feeling in this one?
Yikes. Okay. Put all my eggs in the basket on the Chiefs. They should win the game. That's just the reality. So I got 14. I got 14 on the Chiefs. First of all, the Saints quarterback Taysom Hill, I think he gets way more credit than he deserves, in my opinion. He can be the backup, sure. I can put food in the oven to feed myself, sure. I'm not a chef, but I can bake a cookie. That's kind of how I see him. I don't think he's extra really anything. And he's going up against Patrick Mahomes, who is, the reigning MVP of the NFL. So, and Travis Kelsey, leading the league in receiving yard. I see no way unless, again, the Chiefs show up. Sometimes the Chiefs have this energy where they're like, well, we know we're going to win the game. So they only like halfway show up. And then like, I don't know, at some point in the second quarter, they decide to be like, oh, we really got to play. Unless they are totally asleep, unless the Chiefs, I don't know, just got a bunch of COVID mess, unless somebody unexpectedly is hurt. And especially after seeing the Saints perform so poorly against the Eagles, I have no confidence in the Saints right now. I'm going with the Chiefs.
I still think the Saints are a good team. I think their defense got caught unaware of what to expect from Jalen Hurts this past week. There's plenty of film out there on Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs, and I get that does not help a lot of teams to slow them down. But the Saints defense has been really good for the past few weeks, with the only exception being this past week. This hasn't been a situation where the Saints have been trending downward, and then finally fell below the cutoff to lose a game. They've been good. They had a hiccup this past week, and I'm still willing to call that just a hiccup. That doesn't mean they're going to win this game. The Chiefs are a really good team. This is going to be a very competitive game. But the game is in New Orleans. I think the Saints are going to come out with a good game plan to keep this close. And the Chiefs' defense is beatable. It is very beatable, and I think that Taysom Hill is capable of beating that defense. The difficulty is going to come in if he's out there fumbling the ball like he has been wont to do. There's a good chance the Chiefs are going to take advantage of that. But I just call it a gut feeling on this one.
Oh, I think you're having a bit of the gut feeling Lamar had on Monday night.
Oh dear.
Yeah, I don't think you're reading this one right.
Excuse me while I miss most of the fourth quarter of our podcast.
Yeah. The Saints were really disappointing against Eagles. There's really no excuse for not seeing what was coming from Jalen Hurts. Like he really only ran the ball in college. Like he wasn't as much of a pass first quarterback, as it would seem coming out nowadays. So, just why weren't they ready for that? I don't know what they thought was going to happen, frankly. So losing to the Eagles the way they did, that seems like they kind of got exposed a little bit. So, if the Kansas City Chiefs are coming to town, it's not going to go well for the Saints, unfortunately. If they play the way they played against Philly last week, it was just a colossal disappointment. Like they just didn't show up. I don't understand what happened. So the Chiefs should definitely win. I think the Chiefs win by at least 10.
There you go.
Yeah.
It's pretty low confidence to say that they're going to win by 10, Evan.
I'm inclined to agree with Corey that it's a hiccup against the Eagles. It was really disappointing, and it'll probably ruin the Saints' playoff aspirations because now they're not going to get the 1 seed because they found a way to lose to Philly.
Every year this happens to them.
Yeah, they find a way to lose a game that they shouldn't, and they end up underachieving in the playoffs pretty much because of it. So this is a standard operating procedure for them. But that doesn't mean that I don't think they're still a really good football team. It's just a matter of they have a quarterback who's not good, and that's Taysom Hill. Like if Drew Brees was playing, I would have picked the Saints.
Aren't you the one who all season has been touting about how he's not useless?
Yes, he's not useless. It doesn't mean he's as good as Drew Brees. I mean, there's a reason he's the backup.
Is he as good as Jalen Hurts, though? I don't even think he's as good as him.
I don't think so either.
I think he's adequate as a gadget quarterback, which is what he was being used for before Drew Brees got hurt.
He's
I
shown
think
he's shown plenty of accuracy on downfield passes.
I don't care. He has no pocket presence, and he fumbles the ball all the time. And he has no touch. He can't throw a screen.
He started to show a little bit of touch in the short game this past week.
I watched him throw an interception because he decided to throw a fastball to Alvin Kamara, who was 5 yards away, and it hit off his hands and it got picked off. So,
yeah, he also completed like 7 passes to Alvin, which was more than twice what he had completed to him in the past 3 games combined. So he's being more effective in the short game.
Yeah, well, he wasn't more effective when he couldn't beat the sorry Eagles. He scored 21 points. He coughed up a fumble on a 4th down where he probably could have had a first down if he was aware of himself at all. He's just not that good of a quarterback, and that's okay. I mean, did we really expect him to go out there and actually be the next franchise quarterback for the Saints? We all said, hell no, that's not going to be the case. So he's not going to go toe-to-toe with Patrick Mahomes and win. That's not going to happen. It's just not going to happen.
We'll see.
I mean, I hope you're right, Corey. I really do, because that would be something, but I don't see it happen. So we'll move on to the Sunday Night Football game. This game was actually flexed in. What was in there before? It was like the Cowboys.
49ers Cowboys.
Yeah, so they flexed the 49ers Cowboys out of this because that game is not interesting. Instead, we've got the Browns at the Giants, which is very interesting because the Browns look like a playoff team and currently are in playoff standing, and the Giants are competing for the NFC least, so they have potential playoff aspirations as well. The Browns are coming off of a pretty, I guess, is pretty much as impressive of a loss as you can have, because they went toe-to-toe with a division rival that usually has their way with them, and they made them earn it, so there's something to be said for that.
It's a moral victory.
Yeah,
sure.
Coming into this game, John Harbaugh was 21-4 against the Browns.
No, he's 22-4, but this one he had to sweat a little more for. So I've got the lowest confidence on the Browns. I've only got 4 points on the Browns. Corey's got 13. Evan's got 10. Faryn, are you feeling the Browns?
Yeah, no, I am feeling the Browns. I got the Browns at 7. Although I've said this about a number of people and I stand by it, I do not like Baker Mayfield. He was disrespectful to all of Ohio State.
The flag plant thing, that was like 5 years ago.
If somebody had come into your stadium, if somebody else's dog wipes their butt on your carpet, would you be upset? Yes.
Yeah.
You would be.
If that dog kicked my ass for 3.5 hours, I might have to let it go.
Yeah.
I will not let it go. It was not a complete butt whooping. We did lose the game. I understand. I understand we lost the game. You don't got to be disrespectful about it though. And he got his. Nick Bosa came for him as he should have last year, 2 years ago, something like that.
Yeah, he got him. Yep.
So big shout out to Nick Bosa. Anyway, I do think the Browns are going to win this game. The Giants, man, they're up and down. Sometimes they're tripping over nothing. Sometimes they're beating the Seahawks. I don't know what to believe with the Giants, unfortunately. I don't know if the Giants have a lot of confidence in their quarterback right now. I don't know if Daniel Jones does in himself either. I don't know. Coming back from this injury, seems like it's been hard for him. I don't know if he's mentally ready to go. I don't know if it's a physical, something holding him back, but he didn't have all his marbles last week. And the Browns, like y'all are saying, they're coming off a good loss. Like, I think Baker has finally matured. I think he's got his pieces together. I think he knows what he's doing. I think he's got the right amount of confidence, and the play to back it up. So I'm gonna have to go with the Browns.
Yeah, this is a little bit of a Daniel Jones revenge game because Baker talked all that smack about him being drafted. Was it the 5th overall pick that the Giants used on Daniel Jones? And he's like, can't believe they did that.
Well, neither could anybody else.
That's true,
Baker.
but Baker still, he said it now. So this is You know that's going to be a storyline that they're going to throw in there that Baker said that Daniel Jones can't play. And so far, Baker's right because Daniel Jones stinks. Yeah. Like people are trying to make this guy into something, and he ain't it. Like they keep trying to tell me, oh, he's turning the corner. I'm like, no, he's not. I watched
rounding the turn.
Yeah, he last week that was his moment to shine. Like he was supposed to go out there and compete with the Arizona Cardinals, and they were supposed to go prove that they were the best team in the NFC East, which is what I've been hearing about for the last 6 weeks from the Giants. And he went out there and he was horrible. According to our favorite metrics, he was the worst quarterback in the league last week in a game that they kind of had to win. So, but the thing is, I don't trust the Browns. Maybe it's just 20 years of history of watching the Browns be the Browns, and it makes me hesitate to pick them in a big game that they've got to win. I'm just like, it's the Browns. I can't.
I'm feeling the Browns at this point. They're playing very good football. They played very good football on Monday night. The Ravens just played better football. The Giants are not capable of playing anywhere near what the Ravens did this past week. I don't think the Giants are capable of playing the way the Ravens did with Trace McSorley in the game, to be quite honest. Daniel Jones is not good.
That's mean.
The only thing that the Giants have going for them on offense is Wayne Gallman, and come on, it's Wayne Gallman. Their defense has been playing better of late, but so has Baker Mayfield. Baker's been playing fantastic over the past month. His receiving core has been playing well. These guys that none of us have ever heard of, like Donovan Peoples-Jones, guys that we hadn't, that we thought were washed, 4 years ago, like Rashard Higgins. I thought that he was out of the league, and he's come back this year and he's playing, okay. He's at least part of the offense. Jarvis Landry has been playing well, and obviously the two-headed monster out of the backfield. Everybody talks up Nick Chubb. Well, Kareem Hunt has been playing better this year, even when Nick Chubb is on the field. So, that is by far the best 1-2 punch we've probably ever seen in the NFL out of a backfield. I don't see the Giants' defense, as good as it has been playing lately, being able to slow down the Browns.
Yeah, the Browns roll in this game. I feel like they should have kept 49ers and Cowboys in Sunday Night Football because that game would at least be close, even if those two teams are terrible. Mm-hmm. It would be a close game. The Browns roll by 20.
I'm not going.
Daniel Jones is a turnover machine. I'm starting the Browns defense in fantasy this week.
You've had a few weeks this year where you should have and didn't.
Yeah. Well, because I was probably starting the Chargers. Them again.
Yeah, you forgot we aren't just starting the defense; we're also starting the special teams in fantasy.
Yeah, that little detail, the Chargers. Whoops. Browns roll. Everybody, public service announcement. Y'all can go to bed early Sunday night. Get nice and rested for the Christmas week. Go shopping and stuff. Make cookies and everything.
Yeah, Corey, you mentioned Rashard Higgins. Back in 2018, when Baker was a rookie, he actually developed a pretty good connection with Rashard Higgins, and then that kind of disappeared last year, I guess, when Odell came in, and Higgins was just non-existent in their offense. So it's good to see them getting that connection going again because they really do seem to have something.
Yeah.
So we'll move on to Monday Night Football, last game of the week. They can't flex this game, otherwise they would have.
One would hope.
Steelers at the Bengals. The Steelers have been not looking very good, but they get a nice big fat get-right game against the Bengals, who don't have their prized number 1 overall pick, former Ohio State quarterback Joe Burrow. But nevertheless, the game has to be played. We all have high confidence on the Steelers. Corey's got 12. I've got 13. Evan's got 14. Faryn, how many do you got on Pittsburgh? I'm assuming Pittsburgh.
Yes. I got 12 on the Steelers for obvious reasons. The Steelers should win this game. It should be their opportunity to get things back on track. Like you said, The Bengals are not good. They do not have their starting quarterback, which is sad. They weren't winning a ton of games with him, but they were better. Yeah, the Steelers, they got this. They're gonna win the game.
Yeah, it's a no-brainer. I mean, Joe Burrow was the one good player the Bengals had. Now he's gone. Their defense is terrible. Their offense is terrible. I mean, you know, I bet Corey thinks the Bengals will keep it close for some reason. But Steelers roll.
I don't think that the Bengals will keep it close.
Oh, you don't?
However,
okay.
The Steelers have been playing poorly lately, and so I did knock them down a couple spots. There were other teams that I felt, I should be more confident in. That this week, that there are 5 or 6 games that I am like 100% confident in, but I can't put 16 on 5 different teams. I have to give that to one. I have to go 15-4. So this was kind of the bottom of those top 5, but I'm still very confident.
Okay.
Oh, I seem to recall the previous matchup of this.
It was in Pittsburgh.
You had to give Evan some money because.
Gee, I wonder if there was anything different about. Oh, the quarterback for the Bengals was still healthy.
Yeah. That was an ill-advised bet back then.
And now there's no Joe Burrow, so I have no incentive to try and get my money back on this game. I would be glad to make a bet with Evan that the Browns will not beat the Giants by more than 20.
By 20? I mean, 20
you said 20.
That's
you said the Browns will win by 20.
Yeah, I'm not betting that. That's frankly
you
absurd.
don't bet 20 points.
Somebody's chicken.
No, somebody's using his brain.
Smart guy.
There you go.
Gotta take your shots when you can get them, and otherwise hold on to your money. So that'll do it for this week's episode, unless anybody has any shout-outs or topics that we missed. Anybody?
Shout out to Major League Baseball for including Negro League records in their historical database going forward.
Yeah, that's sort of that goes into the "it's about damn time" category.
Yeah.
I'm not
For
gonna.
sure.
First thing I think that we'll ever give Rob Manfred any sort of positive credit for on this show, even though I'm sure it's not Manfred's doing.
It's bare minimum stuff. You don't get credit for the bare minimum, in my opinion. But nevertheless, it did happen, and we are happy that it happened.
Willie Mays gets a few more hits tacked onto his record.
Career total. Anybody else? Anything?
I can't think of anything. Usually think of something as soon as we get done, but I don't have anything right now.
Okay. So I'll wrap us up here.
Oh, I do have something. Please wear a mask and wash your hands and bathe. That's important.
Bathing.
Are people not bathing anymore?
I just put that in there because that's important.
Nobody's
too.
going out.
Yeah.
In today's world,
Why do you need to clean up if you're not leaving your house?
In today's world, I've learned that if you don't tell people they should do something, they won't do it. Even if it's obvious, you can't leave anything to chance. It's been proven time and time again by individuals all up and down the socioeconomic ladder. You can't trust anybody to use common sense, so you have to spell it out for them. So that'll do it for this episode of the Sportsballers podcast. You can email us at thesportsballers@gmail.com. Send us any questions, feedback, mailbag ideas, complaints, concerns, anxieties, whatever you got.
Game picks.
Game picks if you're into that type of thing. You can get this podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google, Amazon, all of them. If you can name it, we're probably there. You can follow our Sportsballers Twitter handle at SportsBallers18. You can also follow us individually. We've got Corey is at Corey Puffett. I'm at Quagmire67. Evan is at Evan_Ash13. And Faryn is at Faryn Square. That is a fantastic Twitter handle, by the way. I find that quite amusing. So if nobody has anything else, that'll do it for our show. Thank you so much to Faryn Ash for joining us this week. It was a really good time having you on. I hope you enjoyed yourself.
Yes, I did. Thank you for having me. It was fun.
Absolutely. And for Corey, Faryn, and Evan, I'm Eric. Thank you for tuning in. We will see you guys next week.